Happy Sunday night, everybody out there in Unlock the Middle Land. It is Sunday night. That means only one thing. It's an opportunity for us to get a little better together from an administrative lens. Listen, it's been one of those days for all of us, but Sunday nights are all about us just reaching out across the country and just finding people who are just unbelievably good at what they do, and they want to share it out to make us all a bit better. My name is Dean Packard. I am the co-host along with Chris Chesky, my other sidekick, and we have Josh Tovar, who's in the house with us as well, and we are here tonight to just make ourselves a little bit better. Chris, nice to see you back again. How are you, my friend?
Hey, doing all right. A little under the weather, but getting through it. Get ready for a couple of weeks before our April break ahead. And looking forward to celebrating Assistant Principals Week. All you assistant principals out there, you are what make the lifeblood of the school keep flowing every single day. So just want to give a shout out to all the APs out there and Unlock the Middle Land.
I love it.
Josh,
Dr. Tovar.
Hello, everybody. Josh Tovar, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy here in Garland, USA, Saxe, Texas. I'm very excited today with our guests. You know what? We've been all working together for a while now, connected, but not really connected, but really connected, because we're the Fantastic Four groups of professional development podcasts working together to make sure that we're all stronger together with Principal Cafele, Coach Sean Hurt, and our guests and ourselves all weekend. So there's no excuses why we should not sharpen those tools, because you know what? We're only stronger together. So wherever you're at, like it, follow, please give us where you're coming from, and also comment. That's the most crucial part. We need those tools that you're using in Iowa. I need those tools that you're using in North Dakota. We finally got an Alaskan. Hello, Alaska. How about a Hawaiian?
We did last week.
Right, Dean? But
we did last week.
I'm very excited. Hand it over to Dean. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, no, great. Nice job, Josh, as always. And you know, for tonight, another thing we ask you to do is retweet this out afterwards, because I think it's even better the second, third, fourth time around. I get everybody's busy with their schedule, but generally speaking, there's a lot of nuggets inside of what we talk about. So without any further ado, let's go back to Josh. And, you know, Josh, you were the one who actually brought in Dr. Houston and Tammy Taylor back to our show once again. So we're going to bring them both in right now. We're going to be quiet because they are the main guests tonight. And I believe they're going to be able to really talk about what they're doing, their journey, and really what makes them special about where they're at right now. So, Josh, kick it to you for a second.
So, to everybody, these two young ladies have been doing a phenomenal job. I've been a follower. You know, we started. That's the beauty of Twitter, guys. If you're not on social media, you're still renting your movies at Blockbuster and buying your pants at Montgomery Awards. Understand that one small connection through Principal Cafele connected all of us together, with Coach Hurt, with Sheka, and with Tammy. And from that moment that we connected with each other, we've been growing stronger together. And Sheka reached out to me and said, hey, how can I do this? I gave her some ideas. Then I went with Sheka. She invited me to a conference in South Carolina. Since that moment, we've been talking. And then they've been part of our Red Zone. And that's how you grow those PLNs. That's how you grow stronger together and learn from each other. And without further ado, we have future doctor, almost there, Tammy Taylor, and Dr. Sheka Houston. Welcome to Unlock the Middle.
Absolutely.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having us. We are honored to be with you all. And everything Josh said is totally correct. It was a great connection from Principal Cafele, and I'm happy that we got connected.
As am I. And we are firm believers that iron sharpens iron. So we are absolutely humbled to be a part of such an amazing network of professional developers.
Well, ladies, if you could for a second, just tell everybody where you are again, what you're doing, just in case they're new to the show. And, you know, we've had the honor of having you on before to give us that background. But Dr. Houston, why don't you start off? Just talk about where you are, what you're doing, where you've been, and kind of the direction you're going. Then I'm going to kick it over to you, Tammy.
Okay.
All right. We are in South Carolina, rural Chester, South Carolina, actually. I have been in education for 19 years. I've been a teacher, assistant principal, and now I'm serving as the director of secondary interventions, helping basically the schools, support the schools with the MTSS process. I'm a wife, a mother of two girls, and Tammy and I have been working together and been friends ever since we've been in the district. And uniquely, I have been in the district that we work for. It's the same district that I grew up in. So I'm very passionate about the work that we do in our county for our community.
And Tammy?
Yes, and I'll echo what Sheka shared because much of our story is exactly the same. I, in reverse, did the district leadership first. So I've done lots of different things after teaching, and recently landed in the principal seat of an elementary school that's a pre-K through 5 seat. And I say this whenever I have the opportunity that it is by far the best experience that I've had thus far. So elated to be in that space to make the difference in the lives of children and teachers. As Shika stated, I also grew up in the same school district where I currently am working. I didn't grow up in the community that I serve. So that's given me another very refreshing opportunity to see a different geographic part of the county and the experiences that are very different, some of them, than those that I had when I was growing up in what would be considered the city of Chester, in the schools rather, because I was a country girl where I was growing up. But it's been a really neat experience to serve and be able to give back to the community where you were born and raised, and that school system that you matriculated through.
Well,
Wow, ladies, wide and varied responses, that have really shaped you as leaders and mentors. The new book that's coming out, it doesn't have to be lonely at the top. Man, there are some days when it really feels like it is for all educational leaders and all those, all leaders, managers, anybody in that role of accepting that responsibility. Given your backgrounds and merging together into the dynamic duo that you are, what is it that you can bring to leaders to help gain the most out of their own potential and their own experiences?
Well, one thing, and we wanted people to gather from the title, a lot of times people feel like in the principalship that you have to know everything, that you can't look like you don't know something. So you're afraid to reach out to certain people. So that title was intentional because we want people to know you don't have to sit in that seat by yourself. You're going through the same experiences someone else is going through. They may not just be saying it, but if you reach out to people, let people know, hey, I'm having a problem with this. And that's what Tammy and I were to one another. And we coined each other's as one another's trust mate because we found ourselves in the same seat at the same time when we both got our principalships same year. We landed in our schools and they changed the accountability model. We were both unsatisfactory schools. And because of that, under the leadership that we had in the district at that particular time, it was made to seem like it was our fault. What are you going to do about this? So we really cling to each other for that support because it was a really, really negative experience.
Yes, and I'll just say this too, Chris, because as she could say, the title is intentional. It's a very deliberate title, and we want people to say, "Oh, I don't know what they're thinking," because it's real lonely at the top sometimes. Because when you get the book, then you can see that the story that we outline is truly our journey, as she could say it, through a time that could have been very lonely and very defeating.
Mm-hmm.
And without one another, who and this is the other thing that you have to understand, and this shows up in the book because it's a part of who we are. But we are two people who it's hard to stifle. You really can't silence us. Like if I don't know something, I'm not intimidated to say, listen, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't have a problem saying that. That sort of makes you an anomaly sometimes. And so other people kind of are looking like, I mean, she's saying that she doesn't know something. So that gave Sheka and I again more of a magnetic force that pulled us together because we're thinking, this doesn't make any sense, because what this is about is not us. This is about doing what's right for children, moving the school. These aren't schools that should be unsatisfactory, yet they are. We need to do something about this. And together we were better. So we were able to do that.
Before Josh, before you go, I just want to throw this in. What's the secret sauce between you two? What's your jam? Because Chris, myself, and Josh, I mean, we've just come together. We just love just pulling things out of people. What's your remedy between the two of you?
You mean between one another?
Yeah. Yes, between the two of you, between one another, the tag team here. Yes. What is that?
Well, Tammy and I have a lot of similarities, but then there's also those differences that really help us. So we're both the same in that we're pretty reserved people, kind of small circle, very family oriented. But I'm a little more outgoing than Tammy. I'm the social media.
Look at you.
Oh, here we go. Now it's coming out. Now we're getting it. Here we go.
And also Tammy is that person too. Sometimes I can get away from things or get out there a little bit. She's that person that reins me back in. Okay, Sheka, you need to bring that back in a little bit. So we really complement each other, and I push her to get out there a little more.
Yeah, and I'll say I have to agree, because that was what I was going to say too, Dean. I think we accentuate one another. So there is that balance that comes, and someone was saying that the better word for balance is alignment. But when we are with each other, the synergy actually aligns us to be able to do more together, because as Sheka said, we do have lots of similarities, but we also have lots of polarities, because she's a very different kind of person than I am when it comes to people and to just being out there for people. I'm way more reserved. I'm the worst type of introvert you could be, but the best type of introvert you could be. She has some introvert characteristics, but she's also a people oriented person. So she does pull that out of me, because when I have to be able to deal with people to deal with Sheka, because she'll sign us up for something and there we go. So I have to be on go all the time. But it's one of those things where we are always going to look out for one another. And as she said, the trust mate is something that we take very seriously, because being her trust mate and her being mine allows us to be authentic with one another, but it also allows us to be 100% honest with one another as well. So just like she says, I rein her in, she pulls me out to like, man, you got to come on with this team. Yep, you're going. No, I'm thinking I'm not going. Yeah, you got to come. We are going to go to dinner with these people, and so we go. But it's just one of those things where we provide that support to one another that sometimes you don't even know you need, Dean.
I love it. I love it. That's how it starts. That's how the relationship begins to blossom, and you make that big ripple effect coming together. So nice work. Good work. Josh?
Hey, Tammy and Ashika, I think we can skim over. I've heard the story of how you guys reached to the company, and when you walked into those campuses, the way that they were. We need to understand that there are a lot of administrators right now, both APs and principals, that this might be their first year in the middle of the second year of COVID. And they're walking into a D school, into an F school. They're walking into someone that the state has their hands around their throat, right? That's what led to your success. I think it's crucial. To me, I always, like a caveman with my abacus, I need to know how you did that. The adversity that you fought. You see, to me, you got to talk to me with pictures. You got to show me how you did that. That way I could connect with your struggle and say, hey, sí se puede. Yes, you can. So can you please, ladies, Tammy, can you start off by sharing that adversity, what you were told when you arrived there about, oh my God, you better fix it quick. Share with everybody. Everybody needs to hear that story. It's crucial.
Yes. And what we'll do is we'll give you guys a bit of a spoiler, because when you get the book, that's what the story is. It is truly our journey through that what could have been the worst year of our career to date. And so I appreciate you asking too, Josh, because I do think it's important, contextually important for people to know who they're hearing from. So I, as I said, went to a pre-K through fifth grade school. Great school, from all aspects of seeing what the school represented. The school before, some years back, had received several awards, and there were different, I guess, images of what was thought to be what was happening in the school. And so I was thankful to be there, because again, this was giving me that experience that I didn't have. I had lots of district experience, but I'd never experienced leadership at the building level. So I went there without any assistant principal experience. So that was a part of a disconnect for me. And I'll just be um, in full disclosure, very transparent with that. So as I got to the school and started to observe and see what was actually happening in the school, and to start to dig into the data, I'm a very data oriented person. So that was some of the first steps that I took. I wanted to see where I was and what was going to be the focus for me. And as I started to look at the data, I saw that the number of students moving from grade to grade that were not ready for proficiency at that next grade was astronomically high. So these perceptions that were there, even amongst the staff, I knew I was going to have to address. And so that became a part of my plan for how I was going to roll out my leadership at the school. So we started immediately to have conversations about readiness, and started looking at foundationally what was happening, because we had an astronomical number of students moving from kindergarten into first grade, nowhere near ready to begin reading, which is a problem for a first grade teacher. So those were some of the challenges that I immediately noticed. And then the other thing, and this is probably what you've heard a lot about, Josh, from my school, um, the culture was damaged, but nobody knew it. We were operating under false assumptions, and we were in really denial about what really was happening around us. So there was this false sense of harmony there. And immediately I knew that I was going to have to teach them how we had to really aggressively begin to address those deficits that were in our school culture. So we went to work on, and that's how I spent my first year, just trying to correct some of those things that just were keeping us from moving to the next level. Because I had studied the data, I already knew what projections were for us when we were going to take the test that year, because you have 75% of the kids that are 2 or more grade levels behind. You cannot be successful on an end of the year state test when you have that many students who are behind. So we were bracing ourselves that entire year, and I was preparing them for this is the lack of foundationally being prepared for what happens when kids move up not ready. So all the while in the background, I'm working on getting people in the right places, because that was a part of what was wrong. We didn't have folks down in the early grades who were strong enough to do what needed to happen for those kids to be ready to move on. Well, in the middle of that, with all that we have going on, we also don't know how to deal with conflict, because it was never allowed. So I'm having to take them to the conflict continuum to teach people, like, it's good to deal with. We have to have some conflict, because we need to be able to hash things out, or we're going to maintain this false sense of harmony that we have. Now, that's what's going on at the building. In other places, people are looking at what's going on and trying to sort it out by what they're looking at on paper, because again, this is not a good picture. It's bleak. And at the end of the year, we've already braced for it. We know what's about to happen. I don't think that we're going to be unsatisfactory, because my calculations say we're going to be probably a level up in priority. But very long story, surveys got lost, shot us down an entire category to the very bottom of the category. And now we're in unsatisfactory status. Rather than me being allowed to explain all those things that I just talked with you guys about how things are going to be better, we're working. We've already started working on what we knew was going to happen. We were told, and this is pretty point blank, you know, you can fix it or you'll be on some level of improvement this next year. You're going to be looked at again at whatever point. I don't even remember, because it was just so despairing at that time. But you're going to get this right. And the only thing they're talking about getting right are the test scores. You're going to get these scores up, or you're in essence going to be trialed out of here, because this is unacceptable. Well, in the background, because all those other things were going on, at the end of that year, when we fell into unsatisfactory status, we had already been working. I had moved people around, and the culture is getting better. People quit. I had lots and lots of staff turnover. I had probably, I'm going to be honest with you, in 1 year, I probably had 75% of my staff to leave. I'm restaffing with some strong, committed people. And at the end of that school year, our report card grade went from being at the bottom of what would be unsatisfactory in the bottom 5% of the state, schools in the state. We went to being 2 points away from being excellent. So we went from unsatisfactory to good in that single year. Now people started to look at us differently. People started to want to know what did you do? What kind of tricks do y'all have going on? What is happening down there? And this is something Sheka also has to help me with, because if you don't want me, I don't want you. And that's just kind of how that goes. And so it was one of those things where, you know, I'm not doing anything differently than I was doing when I was considered to have on that scarlet A that was branded across my chest. So we kind of worked our way through that, Josh, just by being committed to the cause and paying attention to what was happening at that school, and not being intimidated or threatened by the threat for me that you fix the scores or you have to go. Because what I've discovered is when you fix those other things, the scores fix themselves. So I had to work on people, building the confidence of the people, of the children. It was lots of things happening. Now that the culture has shifted, kids believe in themselves, teachers believe in the children. We went from being a very adult centered, the whole mindset was adult when I got there, to being very child centered. Everybody understanding these children are the responsibility of everybody in the school. It is not this divide that I walked into. These are the problems of the third, fourth, and fifth grade teachers, because those are the kids who are being tested, because you have to prepare them to be ready for this test. So everybody started to have some level of accountability, and that changed the direction that our school was going in. And so here we are, you know, a few years later, again, great synergy down there. Kids are really working hard, continuing to grow, and um, we focus on teaching and learning. That's what we go there for every single day. I expect teachers to teach. I expect students to learn. And that's kind of the environment that you step into when you come to the school.
Turning around a school is one thing, and that's a big task in itself. Changing a culture within a building or a district, that is a mountainous task. There's no doubt about it. So my question, I'm just going to just deviate from the plan for a second and say, when you saw that the culture was turning or poisonous or toxic, what was your plan to be able to move your schools back to where they needed to be? And I'm going to throw that one down to Dr. Houston first.
Well, my school, I had a different experience than Tammy in that I had worked there as a teacher. I was there as an assistant principal. So I was really familiar with what was happening there. The culture was, something that needed to change. And I realized that when we had our root cause analysis. And if you're familiar with Ken Williams, cowboy hat Ken Williams, I love his thing on that school. My school was that school in the district. It was the school that nobody wanted their children to go to. They built a whole charter school to make sure they would avoid our school. It was that school. It had a poor reputation, not only in the community, but in the district. So there were lots of things that I needed to change. And it started with the people there. And with our root cause analysis, what I realized was the teachers, some of them didn't believe in the children or the children in the community, because what they stated was, well, the parents here don't care about their children. And I was like, wait, what? I'm from here. I know most of the people that live here. Actually, I probably went to school with several of them. They care about their children. That is not the problem. We have to focus on the things that we know how to fix. And so when the shift started taking place of expectations, because that's one of the things that was missing, that, you're not going to come here and just check off some boxes and then on the 15th and the 30th, collect what is given to you by the district. We're going to set high expectations for our students. We're going to stop sitting around as adults talking about the data with one another. We're going to make sure the children know what the expectations are, because that was missing. You're not even telling the children what they should be striving for. So once I started doing that, I started having town hall meetings with the students. I started messaging things to the students. CMS, I see you. What do you see? Your answer should be greatness, because I wanted them to see themselves differently instead of accepting what was branded onto them by what was given to us by the district and the school. And things started to change. And like Tammy, I lost about 17 people my first year, which was probably well over half of the staff. And the same people who, were threatening to put us back in the classroom if we didn't get the school fixed, wanted to know then, well, what are you doing? You're running everybody off? You want me to fix the school? Let me do my job, because this is part of the problem. Some of the people here are not the right people. And once I started getting the right people into the right places, that's when things started to change. And people that I brought in heard my vision for the school, and they bought into the vision and wanted to be a part of it and was a part of it. And our school went from unsatisfactory. We went up 2 report card grade levels in 1 year from the work that my staff and I did.
And it was great work. She's real modest about what they did there, but it was transformational. And I just wanted to say, Dean, because this is just in response to the culture question, because I was working from the perspective of the two of us with the difference. I was at a deficit because I was learning a new school and came to acclimate to a culture that I couldn't acclimate to because it wasn't healthy. So what I had to do was sort out, okay, well, what comes next? Like I could have gone down there and tyrannically said, look, this is what's supposed to be happening in these classrooms. This is what I expect to see every day, and this is how this is going to be.
Doesn't work.
However, I couldn't do that because there was such a low level of trust anyway. Like there was this expectation that I was there to undermine what was happening in the school, which is insanity. Like, I don't even know why I wouldn't take a post where I'm going to undermine the people I'm serving. That makes no sense to me. But that was kind of the way that everybody looked at what was going on. So again, I had to build trusting relationships. People had to understand who I am as a leader and as a person, because that was, I think, more impactful than anything when people realized. And I noticed they didn't know me, so they didn't know that I'm not that person. So I realized a lot of people were saying a lot of things, and people were telling me things, and then people um, were asking me about some of the things that they had said, as if they thought I was going to just share that with someone else. And that had been kind of the way that business got done there. Like, you tell me. And so you told me what to tell Sheka. I mean, you didn't really tell me to tell her, but I told her. So she got the message anyway. See, and I don't operate like that. If you have something to tell me, you need to tell me. And that's how we operate. Because if I have something to tell Sheka, I'll tell Sheka. And I'll tell Sheka what I need Josh to know. But that was kind of what they had grown accustomed to. So when that was not happening, that created a different dynamic. And again, the shift became easier and easier because people started to say, hey, she's very consistent. Like, she means what she says, and it's applicable to everybody. So when that started to put people either in a good, comfortable space or in a very uncomfortable space, there was a clear path that was going to be taken. Either people were going to stay with me and we were going to move the school, or people were going to take an opportunity to go and find a place that fit them better. And many people did. So that whole responsibility and the weight of creating a culture where kids could thrive and adults could thrive, and we all are there with the same intentionality, wasn't easy, but it was necessary. And so maybe things could have been a little bit different that first year if I had focused a little more on some of those other things. But for me at that point, and even till this day, it's first things first. We had to fix first what was happening so that we could actually allow achievement to be something that was happening in those classrooms.
Plant
And my
seeds and empower. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, my difference was I had the trust of some of the people who had been there since I had been there. So that experience was a little different than Tammy. What I needed to do was build capacity. And one of the biggest things that helped us was learning how to read data. And we had been to probably 1,000, data sessions that still didn't tell us how to read the data. When we got with Principal Hurt, and he actually worked with both of us when I found him and told him about us and our situation. And then Tammy, he sat on the phone with us for 2 hours to go through our data and tell us how to read it. And it was like, oh, that's what it means. So now that we know what the data is saying and how to transcend that down to the classrooms, and the teachers can transcend that down to the children, and now we know what we're working towards, what the goals are, we can actually set goals and work towards them. So that was a really big shift for us.
It was. And I think I'm glad you said that, Sheka, because you're right. One of the things that was very different was that level of capacity, because I actually had some of the strongest teachers, still do have some of the strongest teachers in the district. And the capacity wasn't a problem. It was putting us all on the same page and recognizing that the expectations have to be the same for all students. Because my kids who were capable and could do were doing. Those were the kids who were performing. But what we had to do is make sure that we were creating an environment where all students could learn and grow.
Exactly.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm listening to you and thinking, we always have those really challenging conversations on an individual level, but when we're faced with them as an entire school, where folks have been wearing blinders and not having those difficult conversations because it's easier just to pick up the rug and sweep it under and be collegial, right? As opposed to being real. As you think through your experiences, and you're working, in your districts right now and in your building, got a hell of a side hustle, that we're looking at here with the authorship and mentoring other leaders. What is it that you have in the way of resources? If a young aspiring but talented administrator, were to reach out to you and say, hey, what are the top 5 that I need to think about within my building or within my district? What is it that you have to offer?
Well, definitely our Saturday PD, I think is a great resource every Saturday at 10:30, part of the Fantastic Four that Josh has named us. We give out a lot of nuggets there simply because when we were in that spot, that's how we were learning some things. We wanted to know certain things, and we even asked people in the district, well, hey, we need more PD on this. And then they're telling us, in our meetings where they're threatening us about going back into the classroom. Well, you didn't know this. Well, that's why I was asking for help. That's what you do when you don't know things. So we want to pay it forward, because there's a lot of people who have that old school mentality that, well, hey, that's why we're paying you the so-called big bucks and everybody around us is making more money. You're supposed to know. So, we give out a lot of nuggets there just because we know it's needed. And then the next thing is the book itself. We talk about the 5 super strengths. What we did was develop a framework that we've trademarked. We call it the 5 super strengths because those were the 5 major things in our buildings and in our journeys that really helped our schools improve. And that real acronym stands for respect, because that's the foundation, and it's on the framework as a door, because that is the door to everything. If you don't build that foundation of respect with your staff, with your students, with your parents, with your community, you won't get anywhere. And so that's in your messaging, that's in the things that you do for your SEL activities, that's in your town hall meetings. It is important for everyone to hear your voice and to make sure that that message is consistent and it's the same, and that those expectations are there, and that you're a team and that you're working together. So that's a part of that framework. And then excellence is where we are explaining, what needs to be in place in order to reach that level of excellence, because you need several things in place. The accountability definitely has to be there. If you don't have accountability, if you're just, rattling things off, but you're not inspecting what you expect, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to happen. People are going to figure that out. Even the children figure it out. So you have to have that accountability piece. Literacy is a really big part. I learned a lot from Tammy. That was one of the big things that we needed to improve. And when you get to the secondary level, and people were really honest. Again, I had that trust. They, would say, Miss Houston, because I didn't have my doctorate at that time. I'm an ELA teacher. I don't know how to teach reading. I don't know how to teach children how to read. What am I supposed to do? So that they were very transparent about that. And you don't learn that in secondary programs. And really, to be honest, I don't know how well of a job they've done with it. Sometimes in the elementary programs, from what we're seeing from our trainings currently with the science of reading. And literacy is a big part of it. If you don't have a strong handle on that in your school and ways to intervene and the right resources in place for your teachers first to get trained on how to teach children how to read. And what I did at the middle level, I made sure that my teachers were working together. It could not be the responsibility of just the ELA teacher to teach 600 children how to read. We're on a team. You got 4 people. We're going to divide this up. Everybody has to be teachers of reading because we have too many children that are needing to grow. So we have to institute that growth model, and that's what we did at our school. And then the last thing is that leadership, that is a big part of the framework. You have to be a sound leader, and there are certain things that you have to have in place in order to make sure that everything is aligned, that you're not just adding, different initiatives here, there, and yonder, and people are all over the place and don't know what's happening from one day to the next. You have to be an effective communicator. You have to keep the boat in the road, boat in the ship in the sea. You're the responsible person for everything at the school, even with your team. It still is you that has to make sure all of those pieces are in place and everybody has their designated part to know exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
And that acronym, Chris, that framework allows us to do lots of different things, because there were 3 phases of that real framework that were used also for shifting the culture in our building. So it's an entire framework that we use for lots of different things. The other thing that I think is important, that we offer, and it's just the understanding that collaboration is necessary. You need to have someone or someone's that you are in collaboration with, because we say this all the time and it is just not cliche for us. You are better together. So if you could just make sure that this new administrator, or this um, soon to be administrator who is aspiring to become a principal or become an AP, understands that it's good to collaborate. Don't keep it all to yourself. Like, find somebody who you can share with, who you can teach, who you can learn from, that you can grow with. And I think that has been something that has been one of those things that helps us to maintain the synergy that we have. Shika and I learn together all the time. We go and do things so that we can learn. If I learn something, I am going to share it with her, and vice versa. So we've mastered that concept. Like, we are collaborators. We believe in collaboration. The reason that we are part of a Fantastic Four is because, guess what? We're learning from what you guys are doing. We're learning from Principal Kafele. We're learning from Principal Hurt. We're learning from, I saw Dr. Roz on here. We learn. We're open to learning, and I would love for us to be able to pass that on to future generations of administrators who come into this thinking that you have to be the end all be all. You have to know it all, because you can't know everything that you need to know to be successful in the principal seat.
But you've also both had the growth mindset to step out of your comfort zone and to do something bigger than you believed you could do. That is the only thing that stops most people from getting to that next level. So kudos to both of you. Josh.
Tammy,
Thank
Shika, is there anything that we left out? Anything you'd like to mention right now? Letting the folks know also how to contact you. Tammy, use that Twitter.
Listen, you see, I'm on here.
Use that Twitter.
I did not have to call you tonight and say, Josh, how do I find my link?
I did drop the
I
link in your
went
Twitter.
straight to my message and got right on here. Shika did call to ask me if I was did I get the link, because she knows that could have been disastrous, but I did it. So I have been looking at your Twitter posts. Now what I have to learn is how to respond to something. But I'm looking, and so I'm doing better. But that's that whole part of learning and growing, because again, that extends me, and that's what I think. I think that one of the things, Shika, that we can leave that we didn't really talk about was how when we started on the journey, we started the collaborative, because we do believe that solving problems together is better for us as a profession, that we don't just sit around and complain about what's wrong, but we really come to the table and try to figure it all out. So we are still providing those conversations on the first Tuesdays of every month at 7 p.m.
Yes, and we actually, the collaborative is our platform. Again, like Tammy stated, when the pandemic first started, we started seeing all of these Facebook posts where parents were, jumping on the teachers, and the teachers were complaining and jumping back on the parents. And it was just, just that negative back and forth that wasn't helping anybody. And who was suffering were the children. So we figured, the collaborative, we wanted to target parents and educators and anybody serving children, bring everybody together. Everybody hears what the concerns are, and we talk together about how to solve these problems together, because it takes everyone. It's not just a one person show. It's not just the job of the teachers to teach the children. Education starts at home. So we have a lot of parents who tune in, and they're very thankful, because sometimes they don't understand that education perspective of it. But when they hear it, and then sometimes it's better to hear it from somebody who's not your child's teacher or your child's administrator. When you hear it, then it's like, oh, well, that's why they do that. Now I get it. So we've gotten a lot of that. And this Tuesday's episode is really going to be a good one, where we're talking about women and race in education with our two colleagues that we've met from California, Megan Sweet and Susan Andrina. And we heard on another podcast where they were talking about women and race. But the reason why we think that this is important is because there was a study done where it talked about how African Americans are leaving the profession of teaching at an alarming rate. And even when you look at things such as salary or, some of the other things that people normally leave the profession for, that was just at a 10% rate. But things like microaggressions that they were experiencing were at a much higher rate of 17%. So we wanted to bring some light to that, because a lot of times it goes into that implicit bias that exists in people that they don't realize. And, we just want to have a real conversation about that.
And I think it'll be a powerful conversation. I'm very excited about it. It's the underlying aspect of my dissertation study. So, as Sheka said, the statistics are very alarming about what especially the Black woman is experiencing while in the principal seat, with not just the microaggressions and as Sheka said, those subjugations, but also with the comfort of being able to be yourself, because they're so afraid of the stereotypical thoughts that people are going to have around maybe what your response is. So women sometimes are at a loss for how to respond to a situation based on what they are afraid someone will assume from the response that they make. So I think it's going to be great conversation. And as Sheka said, Susan and Megan are amazing conversationalists, and I know we'll have a really strong conversation.
And I'm sorry, Dean.
No, go ahead.
Two other resources I was going to mention. We have a partnership with Pear Inc. They are actually out of you all's area in Massachusetts, but they are partnered with us to be able to give out Dr. Gil Nome's book, The 10 Big Bets. He received a grant to give that to school leaders in order to be able to better understand, teach you how to work on belonging with students and making sure that you're able to work through some of the challenges of the leading during the pandemic. And we also have some resources for summer reading and math with two of our other partners, EduMonitor and Higgs Phonics. So those are all, you can find those on our website. And I put the website in the chat, as well as our link to reserve a copy of the book if you haven't already. And on the website, you can follow us there on all of our social media handles. It's at the very bottom of the website.
I tell you what, I'd take both of you on my team in 2 seconds flat. Okay. You're amazing. You've got great energy. You've got vision. You've got work ethic. You're dreamers and you want to make a difference. Those are the type of people I want to surround myself with. Okay.
Don't tempt us, Dean. We'll be coming to Boston because we really
come on. You're always welcome. Let us know when you get up here.
That's Tammy's favorite place.
It really is. I love the area.
I try to stay away from Boston, okay? I live in my small town in central Massachusetts. But aside from that, it's a nice place. And you guys are incredible. It's always refreshing to have you on here. And if you haven't received this yet or haven't looked at the book, it doesn't have to be lonely at the top. Please take a look. We're actually going to get some pictures from this. We're going to put it on our website. And we're going to put it out on our Twitter and whatever we can do to help spread the word, because you guys are absolutely fantastic at marketing all of this stuff. So thank you so much. And there it is right there as well. So why don't we wrap it up, Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Dean. Josh, as always, it's riveting conversation. And tonight it was less conversation than it was just sitting back and listening to the fire that our guests brought. Man, Dr. Houston and Ms. Taylor, soon to be Dr. Taylor, you guys really are inspiring, and you're helping me identify some ways that I can aspire to be even better. Truly appreciative of everything that we had going on here tonight. We're just going to round it out here. We're coming up on 52 minutes of night. I've got about 4 pages of notes that I've taken tonight with some phenomenal ideas, and I know that everybody's walking away better for this conversation. Tuesday night, tune on into that the collaborative. Check it out on Facebook Live, correct?
Yes.
That conversation at 7 p.m. Eastern sounds like it's going to be unbelievable and very important, transformative. And Red Zone coming up on Thursday evening with hopefully the 3 of us across the top. If I'm back in it, baseball practices are coming on fast and furious, but I should be off the field by 9. Hey, everybody, unlock the middle land. Let's just continue to be better, grind forward, and let's close it out with a shout out to our assistant principals out there. Assistant Principals Week. Let's hope the drama is minimal so you can build some really great relationships and have some great conversations with colleagues. Be good, everybody.
Everybody stay on, okay? Have a great weekend.